Well, I'm sure you've heard the news that Dodge reportedly, there's a source out there spreading the news that Dodge is contemplating or pushing for getting the six-pack twin-turbo i6 Dodge Chargers out sooner, more at the beginning of summer rather than late 2025, because they're saying, well, it's the customer's demand. The customers are asking for that. Well, idiots at Stellantis, we've been asking for a V8 and you didn't listen. So now you think that this is going to change things. But I will positively say that there's a good chance that if they get this thing launched and they price it right, that it could be a success, because you'll be getting a 500 horsepower plus car, 550 horsepower in that twin turbo inline six in a what I believe is a nice looking, very Mopar appearing body. And I think people are going to want it. And they're saying it's going to be all-wheel drive. So now you stick Scat Pack power in one of those things with all-wheel drive, and you've got some technology and some nice updated looks, and I think you've got something that has a chance to sell. But we know the Stellantis is really good at screwing things that otherwise should be good up. For example, the Hornet. The Hornet should have been priced under $30,000 out of the gate and kept there. I don't care which version it is. They should have been in the mid to high 20s, low 30, or actually under 30. And if a fully loaded version poked into $31,000, $32,000, $33,000, they'd be competing with standard commuting cars out there. And those little, especially those little teeny, I don't know what the hell you call them, the little CUVs or whatever the hell they are. They would have had a chance of selling those things, despite the fact that I don't think they look that great, but they would have been cheap enough for people to buy with enough cool stuff in them for them to see that, hey, it's probably a better value than a lot of other little CUVs out there. And if you want to go buy a Camry, you're going to spend probably $30,000 to $35,000. So why not get one of those things? Well, they priced it well beyond that, and as we've seen, between $40,000 and $50,000, depending on how they're optioned. And yes, if you search, you might get into the 30s, but they're still wildly overpriced for what you get. So they blew the Hornet, and the Hornet has become and continues to be one of the worst selling cars, if not the worst selling car in America. So what they don't understand is there is massive price sensitivity, and that price sensitivity is highly related to interest rates that exist in the economy, along with inflation and the fact that we're all paying more money for almost everything. And because of that, you can't price up these cars and upprice them to a point to where, combined with interest rates, you're basically paying what otherwise would have been a $60,000 car 3 years ago is now you're paying for a $40,000 car that should be priced at $25,000. So they're not selling, and they're sitting, and now, I don't know, I see one or two here and there, and I swear I look at the person's face, and I think they're even confused on why the hell they're driving that thing. But now what's going to happen with this Daytona twin-turbo i6, if they speed it up and get it out at the beginning of summer and put the delivery dates at least within a few months of the EV Daytonas hitting the streets, will they have a much better chance? Well, if you watch my channel for a while, you know that, geez, over the last couple of years, I've said it multiple times that they did this backwards. They should have launched the ICE versions of the Daytona, the new Charger, and let that hit the streets and hit it at a relatively reasonable and low price that they originally were kind of hinting that it would be between $40,000 and $50,000, whether you got the standard output or the high output, and that would sell like crazy. So between $40,000 and $50,000, they'd be in business. They would be showing some sensitivity to pricing and interest rates in the current economy while launching something that would be better, most likely better gas mileage than a Scat Pack, but similar or better horsepower and torque in an all-wheel drive version of this new Mopar. And I think people would buy it. And I think a lot of you have been waiting for it. And I'll tell you, I personally am and have been. But I'm not sure I'll buy it. And here's why. Because I'm absolutely confident that Dodge, Stellantis, are going to launch this thing and wildly overprice it. And even though they've said in some articles, I'll show you in a minute, that they're predicting it to be $40,000 to $50,000. They could barely get the Hornet out at that price in that range. So how in the hell are they going to get something like this out with all-wheel drive, 550 horsepower? It's just absolutely, there's just no way. Twin turbos and cool interior and this new body and everything. It's just, there's no way. I think we know from history with Dodge and Stellantis, especially this last few years, that they may tease a price, but by the time the price comes to reality, even before options, the MSRP ends up being too much. And if the car is a hot item that everybody wants, then we know the dealers will completely screw it up and mark those things up. So what I believe is there's a little bit of manipulation taking place when they launch, or they threaten, they still have yet to have, launched the EV version, the Daytona of the Charger. And there were some dealers a few months ago when I called who were already saying, well, yeah, when they come, they're going to put markups. Well, that's hilarious. That'll never happen. But they think they can get them, which makes me think, well, if they launch something that's a flop, which is the Daytona EV Charger, and then they come right behind it with which they should have called a Scat Pack, but they called it a Six Pack, with the standard output and high output ICE versions of that Charger, then you know, and I know, that dealers are going to mark those things up and they're going to screw the thing up. First, Stellantis and Dodge is going to overprice it when they put it on the market. And then they're going to the dealers are going to screw it up and mark it up and add all kinds of add-ons, which will cause that thing to likely flop. So should you wait to buy one of those, understanding that what I'm saying has been proven to be true over and over again with that brand? Well, what's your options? So I decided to do a little research and dig in and just look at some cars that maybe I would consider buying if I did not buy this Dodge Charger Dodge Charger 6-pack HO with the 550 horsepower and the great torque and the all-wheel drive and all that fun stuff. What would I buy then? Well, first I have to acknowledge the fact that there's no way they're going to price that thing at $50,000. Let's go ahead and just all agree that if anything, that the high output version is going to be in the high 60s. There's just no way they're not going to go there. High 60s to mid 70s, that's probably where it's going to land. Now, I think we'll be lucky if that happens. I think they're going to just jam that thing at us at $75,000, $80,000 and say, buy it. Here's why. They would rather overprice it and then give incentives to make you think that they're giving you a good deal than underprice it and then let the dealers charge markups and get some money. If they overprice it, there's a slight chance maybe dealers have more trouble getting markups, but there's a huge chance that if it's not selling at the very least, they can give the dealers the manufacturing incentives, low introductory interest rates, and that kind of stuff to get those cars to move, but they're in charge of pricing, which is why I think they're going to come out in the $70,000, $70,000, $75,000 range for the high output version. And if you want that 550 horsepower and you want something that's going to move, well then you're going to pay that kind of money, assuming there's no markups. But here's the other issue. What if that car comes out and it's another monster heavy machine, huge heavy machine, and you end up with 550 horsepower in a twin turbo i6 version of that new Charger 6-pack, and it ends up weighing, let's just say, 4,500 pounds. If that happens, after putting you in it, starts approaching 4,700 pounds, and another person in it, 5,000. I mean, this ends up being a very heavy machine with the 6-cylinder with that twin turbo i6, and I'm thinking you're probably looking at a car that's going to get beat by a lot of other cars out there with similar motors. So understanding that, with the price in mind, what are some better options? So I went ahead and did some research on cars that I would consider buying because I'm itching again. I have the itch. I just do. I buy cars. I buy a new car every single year. I have for the last probably 6, 7, maybe even longer years. And you guys know that happens. Sometimes I buy a toy like the stupid cop car, which did sell, and I miss it, but it's gone. Or a Charger or a Challenger every single year. Or I bought the Lamborghini, I bought the other Lamborghini, and I like getting new stuff, and it's great for content, and it's great for, this is my hobby, so it's great for me to be able to enjoy that stuff. Well, right now, it's been a little over a year since I got my Challenger Scat Pack, and I am itching to buy something else. I'm not itching to get rid of my Scat Pack, my Swinger, but at the same time, keeping it and buying something else doesn't financially make sense. So what would I buy? Well, let's go to my other screen and show you some cars that I would consider, and I'd love your input on what you would consider alternatively. And I don't know, I think it's a fun exercise. Let's jump in. All right, here's the article. You can go look at it in Motor Trend. It's really short. It just gets right to the point. Rumor is they're going to fast track this six-pack and get it to the market because nobody wants the EV, and they're going to get creamed on those things. But that just means the dealers are going to likely get a hold of the six-packs and mark them up and hold them hostage from us all and add add-ons and all kinds of junk. Here is the article, and I could not find the date on this article for some reason in here, but the article that showed what the 2025 Dodge Charger six-pack, how it'll be priced. And it says $40,000. Let's go down here. Here's the six-packs. They're saying $40,000 estimated to $50,000 estimated. Now, I don't know who made that estimation, but I can tell you that they are out of their minds. And I'm assuming this article was probably older rather than newer, and a lot has changed since then. But this is talking about the standard output and the high output versions. The high output, obviously, with the 550 horsepower, basically 130 more horsepower than the standard output. And not a whole hell of a lot of information here, but the standard output's 420 horsepower. And they say they think they're going to be able to get this thing out for 40 to 50,000, at least the people estimating this. Let's all together acknowledge that there's no possible way that's happening. There's no way. That'd make too much sense. They're going to need to overprice these things and then come back if nobody buys them. So just more information about that thing, but let's jump over and talk about, well, what alternatively would you buy? What would you buy? What's going to be out there? Well, in that class, basically in that range, you've got the CT4V Blackwing. Now, we don't have a lot of stats on the Dodge Charger six-pack, but I can tell you the CT4V Blackwing is a pretty incredible car. And no matter how you cut it, it's right in that class. 3.6 liter, it's got a V6 that provides 472 horsepower, 445 pound-feet of torque. And I can tell you, you're probably going to be much happier with this thing when it comes to reliability and lack of recalls. And this car is going to do 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds. And I'm going to bet that Dodge is going to launch this thing, and it's going to be running 0 to 60 in the high output. I'm going to bet it's going to be in the mid 4s. So I'm betting this CT4V is faster. Now, if Dodge can get that thing to do it in 4 seconds, good for them. But let's not hold our breath here. So that is a great option. This is a beautiful car. I've been in these things before. They are awesome and fast as heck, and a pretty much well-proven vehicle. Something that I would seriously consider as an option, considering what it's going to cost. So if we go back and look at what these things cost, so between 63 and obviously these are before they're optioned up for the CT4V Blackwing, 63,590 and 75,000 respectively for this special Petit Pataud edition. And of course, once you start adding options on these things, and if a dealer marks it up, it's going to be more. But I would bet you anything this is going to be comparable to the high output version of that Dodge Charger six-pack. And given all this information before us, which do you think is going to be quicker, and which would you choose to buy? And I got to tell you, it would be very hard for me to pick the Dodge, understanding that Stellantis has their hands all over these things, and they're not real good. They've not been great at launching cars in a reliable fashion. So what else? Well, let's look at this. This is something I've been looking at a lot lately. It looks like a fun car. I know my daughter would love me to get one of these things. And this is a 2025 BMW M3. Now, of course, what she wants me to to get as a M3 competition, and it looks like a fun, great car I can use as a daily, and it's very fast. You can get it with all-wheel drive, and it's got a massive amount of technology, amazing tech in it, and very well-proven platform, very fast car, over 500 horsepower, and it is a twin-turbo 6 as well, and starting at 77,175. But if you want to get the big dog, you want to go all the way up, get the competition X-Drive, it's about 86,000. But I will tell you that once you start adding options to those things, it's pretty easy to get to $100,000. But let's say you found a pretty close to base model in that $77,000 to $85,000, $86,000 range, or even a 1-year-old, used car with 1,900 miles and a full-blown warranty. Would you rather have this BMW, considering that Dodge is no longer an American car company, would you rather have the Dodge or would you rather have this? If prices are almost the same, what would you rather have? And I will tell you that M3 is ridiculous. It is. Go look it up, watch some videos in the M3 competition, and it will blow your mind what this thing is capable of. It is nuts. The next one I want to share with you is something that I don't think you should even consider, but it's Stellantis' own Alfa Romeo Giulia Quattrofoglio. Well, these are still going to be sitting on lots because not a lot of people are buying them, and they have huge discounts, I'm sure, around $81,000, and you get another 6-cylinder turbo engine, and this thing is going to be $81,000 to $88,000, probably optioned way up, but it's a Stellantis vehicle, and I probably wouldn't touch it. But that's an option out there, so I just thought I'd throw that in there, even though I'm not considering that. Then you've got the Toyota Supra in 2025 with a 6-cylinder in it. That my daughter has the 4-cylinder. That is a friggin' rocket ship. It is a screamer. You've got 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. You can get it in a manual. 382 horsepower. It's a super light car. And I got to tell you, I've driven my daughter's 4-cylinder a few times, turbo, and that thing is just ridiculously fast and handles amazingly because it is a BMW Toyota collaboration. But that's coming out, and that's going to be starting at $56,250 and probably all the way up fully loaded. You might get just under $70,000 or high 60s, and that's an option in that similar price range, type of engine, performance-wise. Obviously, it's not a muscle car, so I wouldn't say it's the greatest comparison, but it's something that if people are out there looking for something quick with that kind of powertrain, that's going to be an option. And then something I have considered and have on the table currently that I wouldn't mind digging deeper into is the Mustang. Because Mustang, lots of options. Let's just go down to the V8s. Here you get yourself a V8 engine for under $50,000. I can tell you under $50,000 because if you watch one of my videos recently, you can literally walk in and buy a 5.0 Mustang for under $50,000 with a V8 in it. And you can see the prices, $51,000, $57,000, and these are just MSRP. And people are able to get these things for less than these prices advertised. But if you want to get the Dark Horse Premium, $69,870. Of course, you can add a bunch of options onto this thing and drive that price up. And then if dealers stick markups on them, then there you are dealing with that again, or add-ons. But nonetheless, why would you buy a Dodge if that's the case? So understanding that they're not going to be in that price range. So what would you buy if you were in the market for one of these things? Would you wait for the Dodge to show up, or would you just jump off the Dodge train and go buy yourself a Cadillac CTS-V? Would you go buy yourself a BMW? There's other cars. I mean, Kia's got some, the Stinger, like the GTs, whatever. These things are just incredible, just screaming machines. There's so much stuff out there that you can get that's going to be able to keep up with or beat those Chargers, and I just feel like the only reason we were all hanging on before is they were V8s, and they gave us that feeling. It was just a significantly different feeling when it comes to a 6-cylinder, and especially a 6-cylinder turbo. So what would you buy if you were in the market, or would you wait for that Dodge Charger to come out in the six pack? Let me know in the comments below. And I just thought it would be interesting to dig in a little bit and try to see what in the heck is out there that we're going to be buying instead, because I bought so many Dodge Chargers and Challengers that at this point I'm just kind of stuck going, what do I buy? I guess I'm looking at Mustangs. I guess I'm looking at anything because they have nothing but this electric vehicle thing. Or I've got to wait. And now I could wait, maybe at the beginning of summer, pick one of these things up. Will the dealers screw it up? Will Stellantis screw it up and overprice it? Will they make it too heavy and too slow? Will it be wrought with recalls and electrical issues and all kinds of problems? Do I want to go through that stuff? First year of any car is generally a challenge. Any new car is generally a challenge anyways. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.